Good afternoon, and welcome to the Floral Designers Landscape presentation by the Henrico Master Gardeners and the Henrico Cooperative Extension Office. My name is Ed Olsen, and I am the VCE Agriculture Extension Agent in Henrico County. Virginia Cooperative Extension brings research-based information to the localities we serve. Our Master Gardeners are a trained group of volunteers who extend the extension resources and programs available. This program is being held in cooperation with Henrico County Public Libraries. Fairfield, Glen Allen, Libby Mill, North Park, Tuckahoe, Twin Hickory, and Varina libraries are all open to the public with limited hours and occupancy. They offer contactless holds, pickup, new online programs and story times, digital library cards, and more. They are accepting online and phone requests for books and other physical items at the Gayton and Stanston branch libraries. These libraries also offer curbside contactless holds pickup. Check the website for details. The Henrico County Public Library website is www.henricolibrary.org. The Henrico Extension Office is always here for you to diagnose plant problems and answer all your plant-related questions using research-based information. The Henrico Extension Office can be reached at 804-501-5160. At this time, our office is not open for walk-in consultations, so please call with your questions. Today's program is being led by Henrico Master Gardener Mary E. Vetrovec. Mary E. became a Henrico Master Gardener in 2003 and has been very involved in our programming since. If you are a Henrico County resident and would love to inquire about the availability of a Henrico Master Gardener speaking to your garden club or homeowners association on a gardening related topic, please contact our horticulture technician, Terry Lotzenheiser, in the Henrico Extension Office at 804-501-5160. If you have any questions for Mary E. during her presentation, please type them in the chat box, and at the conclusion of her presentation, we will answer those questions. Our program is divided up into two components. The first is going to be a short PowerPoint presentation and followed by a video. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and turn our program over to Mary E.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to be here with you, welcome you all, and want to use a disclaimer. My main claim to fame in floral design is that flowers are my happy place, and I am truly just a garden geek. I will talk about them until people walk away from me. So I'm happy to answer your questions, come to your house and help you, anything that encourages more people loving flowers. Today, our program is going to introduce us to using some of the common landscape plants that we have in our yard, along with those garden bouquets that are always catching your attention as you're checking out at the supermarket, and do make our day a little bit happier. So we'll just look at some of the principles of design and how you can use these garden bouquets. I want to say the first thing that you do not do, and that's come home and stick them in a vase. I've always also seen them in a vase with the paper still around though. So we will talk about that a little bit, how you can use them, make them look a little bit more like they are yours. Oops. Where do I click to advance this? There we go, thanks. The principles of design. There are 5 principles of design that we want to talk about today. Proportion and scale, which is a pleasing relationship with all of the objects in your design. There's balance, either symmetrical or asymmetrical. The symmetrical balance is a more formal arrangement. I'm sorry, I think I might have said that incorrectly. The symmetrical balance is more formal, asymmetrical is more informal. There's a rhythm, how the plant pieces, parts work together, how it flows, how it looks like an arrangement as opposed to just the flowers stuck in a vase. We're also going to consider some unity and harmony, how the design flows together, and then what catches your attention about that design? What is the focal point? We're going to look at this arrangement as some of the elements of design. First, we have the line, which is used here with the curly willow coming from the top. And what people notice most is the color. You can be very formal and use the color wheel, but most of us use the plants that we have, the plants that catch our eye at the moment, or your favorite colors. We're going to look at form and height, which is the width and depth of the arrangement. The space, it can be negative space or positive space. I would say that this arrangement is mostly positive space. All the space is filled. That's a very popular style right now, where there is a tightly bunched grouping of flowers, but negative space is also very attractive, where you leave some space around the plants, or it's a more airy, taller, larger arrangement. And then we want to talk about texture. The leaves, the flowers, any twigs or any other adornments that you add will give texture. And also remember that your vase is part of the texture of the design. We're going to talk about the shapes of the line. Your plant material can be divided into 4 shapes. Technically, they call it line, mass, filler, and form. For an arrangement, I like to call it filler, spiller, and thriller. Here, our filler is the cotton balls. The spiller would be even more cotton balls. And then the thriller is the okra pods that are standing out that someone has dried from their garden. These okra pods could also be sprayed and used in your design. We have the shapes of the material and also the shapes of the design. You can tell that this is an asymmetrical design. That would be an example of that. The line is being made by the ornamental grass plumes and the seed heads. The straw flowers are the filler, and it looks like it might have some little pumpkins. In fact, I see them down or fall gourds in it. And then the seed heads give a little bit of line and thriller. Then we consider the shapes of the material. Here we're looking at our focal point. What catches your attention for this magnolia wreath? Sometimes it might be the bow, sometimes it might be some sticks or gold items that have been added. Here, the pine cones are your focal point. They have used them natural, but you can spray them gold or silver or any color that you like. Now let's talk about how to go about making an arrangement. These are some of the tools that you would gather, supplies that you need. First, you would consider your your flowers. You would gather your flowers. You would already have those. And then you need to consider your container. In my opinion, anything that can hold water or hold oasis can be a container. So you are not limited to where or what you can use as a container. Also, you'll need a pair of clippers, scissors, or floral trimmers, and a knife to shape the floral foam to fit your container. You also can make the arrangement without floral foam, but that is a good way to have your blossoms stay where you put them. And there are all these intimidating rules about using it. They say don't take out and reinsert flowers, and if you don't like where the flower is, then take it out and put it in. Also, you should never technically reuse your floral foam, but I'm sure that we've all done that in a last minute emergency. We see a barely used piece of foam, but you can just get this at any florist and have it put away in your cupboard and bring it out when there are flowers to be arranged. Next, we're going to talk about choosing some plants for floral work. These are some woody plants. We can use our woody plants, our herbaceous perennials, and their annuals. Mainly, we are talking about plants that you might have already in your garden. I hardly ever look at a green plant that I don't think about how I can use it in a floral arrangement. Most of us inherit our plants with our house, but you can also watch and see what other people use. And if you need to replace a plant, then think about what will go with your flower arranging. This slide is showing some bandina, the hellebores. They're showing the new foliage of the hellebores, which make beautiful plant materials for arrangements. And also from January to about June, the blossoms on the mature hellebores will be lovely in plants when almost nothing else is blooming. You can have beds of annuals that you sow from seeds, and they are showing zinnias here. And also don't forget, you've got your neighbor's yard and the roadside that you drive along. Do ask permission, but I knew someone who carried clippers and one of those cones and a shiny jacket like road workers would wear, and said that he was ready to cut any plant material that he needed anytime. I admit I have not gone that far, but it sounds like a good idea if you need something that is in someone else's yard. Now let's look at some of the line plant material. Here are 3 examples that give very interesting plant materials. The first one is the Harry Lauder walking stick. It is a contorted willow that you can use and reuse. Quite often I will share a flower arrangement with someone, and I said, you can keep the container, but give me my sticks back, because I'm very possessive of my sticks. The red twig dogwood is beautiful color in the winter, and also the leaves can be used in arrangements. And pussy willows is another line plant material that you can use. And all 3 of these grow in our plant zone, which is zone 7. Next is some material that can be used in the filler part of your arrangements, part of the mass of your arrangements. Akuba, this is gold dust, which looks just like this all year long. Occasionally it gets a little winter burn, but you can cut off the leaves that are brown and use this. And another plus of this is if it stays in the water long enough, it'll root, and then you can share it with someone that does not have a Cuba in their yard. If you're lucky enough to have one of my favorite flowers, hydrangeas, grow in your yard, they will provide filler flowers, both fresh and dried. I've not ever had much luck with them, but fortunately a new Trader Joe's opened near me, and they sell beautiful hydrangeas. A plant that almost everyone has, and in fact we're pulling it out of our beds where birds have planted is your ligustrum, your privet. Their white flowers are beautifully scented, are nice for an arrangement. Then they have green berries, and then those berries turn a beautiful blue. And they can all be used at any point during arrangements. All of these materials hold up well in oases and in water. The magnolia down in the corner, I've not ever been very successful with using magnolia blossoms except float in a bowl of water. But of course, one of the traditional Southern Christmas arrangements is using the magnolia leaves. You can polish them. They will live for a while without water if you want to put them on your mantle. And all of these plants are a nice addition to your landscape. We want to talk about some of the other plant materials that can be a focus in your arrangements. Here they're showing nandina berries, the beauty berry, and then the cone from a magnolia. Think outside of the box. What else could you find in your yard that you might be able to put in your arrangements? And remember, if you see some nice twigs or sticks, you can spray those, or you can use them in their natural color. Right now, I have some end of the season magnolias from my neighbor's yard, and I have just some twigs that are just plants that have lost their leaves. There's some other materials that you could use. I know we all, if we even live near a sweet gum tree, would like to think, what in the world can we do with those balls other than say bad words to them? But they can be hot glued to a floral pick and sprayed and used brown, green, or any color you choose them as sort of a focal point in your arrangements. We've got nandina foliage. This is I'm not going to come up with what this red is, sweet fire something or other, but this is very pretty. It holds up well, and especially this time of year with Thanksgiving arrangements, this particular foliage is good in arrangements. And just your regular tall nandina, which always seems to outgrow its space, can be used in arrangements. In the demonstration that comes next, you will see that I use some nandina, and it's just like the grocery store bouquets that you bring home. You can cut it apart. You can use 2 or 3 leaves. It doesn't have to be in the shape that it grows for you to be able to use it. And I can see your faces. I wish we could ask questions now, but save all your questions, write them down, and I hope that I can pass some of my enthusiasm for yard material on to you. Some of your herbaceous plants, the top is summer annuals, which can be used. They are some straw flowers and some coleus you might not have thought about when your coleus has outgrown its pots. Cutting that back and using that in your plant, both as a foliage or as a focal point, because quite often it has beautiful colors. Down in the bottom are some summer phlox and possibly some herbs that they have put in it. Herbs are another greenery that I cut and use. It brings that sweet scent into the house. And quite often people want their rosemary or their sage cut back. The third arrangement is some hydrangeas that people have used, and it looks like maybe some florist flowers brought into it. In the back, that is a bloom of a basil plant. You know not to let your basil go to seed, but did you think about using that long bloom as a line in your flower arrangements? Once again, you get some interest, some color, and the lovely scent of basils. I have a very unsuccessful vegetable garden. It's large. I work hard on it with my brother-in-law, and every year we try, and with very limited success, but I always have at least 2 rows of seeds that I collect the minute seeds start going on sale, and just plant and plant and plant, and usually have enough annuals for cut flowers and to share and to bring me so much happiness. Here are some other herbaceous perennials that do quite well in arrangements. Many of these are not available at Thanksgiving or Christmas, but you can use them other times of the year. I do have ferns that still can be used, and I'm still cutting on my Boston fern that, and the queen, some sort of queen fern that I use in arrangements all summer long. If you can keep the deer and the slugs away from your hosta, they are lovely in arrangements, just the leaves in it as interest or as a plant material around the outside of it. Goldenrod, coneflowers, phlox are all yard flowers that grow in our area, Area 7, that the flowers are sun perennials, or rather annuals or perennials actually. And then the hosta and the fern can be used from the shade. I have mostly shade. I try to push the limit on growing phlox and goldenrod and coneflower, but then I have it blooming and I can't, it's not productive enough to cut it. So I'm caught. Do I enjoy it in the yard, or do I take it and put it in the arrangement? My cutting garden is away from my yard in just a sunny spot, and that is usually what I use for my arrangements in the summertime. This is an arrangement that is using a lot of landscape plants. Some of it you would probably have to purchase. Some of it you might have in your cabinet. And I know that anyone who is watching this program has that cabinet where you will put in sticks, berries, a nest, a bird. This is spruce, Leland cypress, winterberry, curly willow, lotus pods, and then there is a small bird's nest with eggs in it, and it looks like they have a piece of, I don't know if I have, here we go, just some mushroom that they've put in it, and just stick a bow in it, or anything else. This is done in a basket and is very appropriate for fall or winter. Harvesting your cut material, of course, the rules would say, get your bucket, get your gloves, get your disinfected shears, go out early in the morning or late in the afternoon, take your bucket, wear a hat, but my theory is to cut the flowers whenever you have a chance. If you can cut them ahead of time, plunge them into water. I do believe in taking water with me, and leave them overnight. That way you will know which of the flowers are going to make it for your arrangement and which ones are not. Remember that you want to use sharp scissors or a pruning knife and make a slanted cut. The idea is to open up as much of your live material to the water as possible. This will especially help when you are using floral foam, because flowers are a little bit less happy in floral foam than they are just in water. A rule that you need to remember is strip off any lower leaves and materials that will not be needed in the arrangement. This will prevent these flowers going into the water and decaying and hastening the demise of your arrangement. So strip them down, cut the stems at an angle. I've always read that you're supposed to cut these stems underwater. Well, if you have a big sink and you want to do that, that's fine. But if you just cut them at an angle and plunge them back into water or put them into arrangements, that will work well also. Do store any flowers that you're keeping out of direct sunlight. And if you are arranging some of our spring flowers like bulbs, put them out of sunlight, because they and many of your other flowers will take themselves out of your arrangement and follow the sun, and you go back and all of your flowers have moved and grown. So that is the reasoning for keeping your arrangements out of direct sunlight until your arrangement is complete. Use tepid water, and you can make your own floral preserver or use the one that comes with your little bouquet of flowers. You might want to write this down. Your flowers need some sugar, and so the recipe is to use Sprite, a liter of Sprite, a liter of water, and a tablespoon of bleach. The bleach cuts down on any bacteria growing in your plants and in your base water, and will help maintain the life of your arrangement. They, however, will not overcome laziness from not pulling off and stripping the leaves, because that will start your decay much faster. And you can purchase your bunch from the store, and sometimes you just get 5 different things. Unfortunately, I didn't show you how to work with different flowers. I try to get flowers that have some similarity either in color or the materials, if you're making it for a particular thing. Going to Costco usually has larger bunches for a very reasonable amount, and you can have flowers that are more alike. As I said, Trader Joe's has a good selection also. Both of these are very reasonable. I'm going to show you some flower arrangements that I've made in a video to follow. I wanted to tell you, and I might say this in the arrangement, since the title of the arrangement was Holiday Arranging with Yard Materials and Grocery Store Bouquets, I stuck with that, but I've bought several different kinds. I spent $30 on 4 bouquets, and I ended up with 6 arrangements, which comes down to about $5 an arrangement. That would be certainly inexpensive enough for you to take and leave at the front of the nursing home for a friend or a grandparent, or I say that I am a grandparent, but I would be happy if someone left me flowers on my front porch also. And I think that ends this. I'm going to turn it over to Ed for the video, but I'll be happy to come back and answer any questions, and so please keep them coming. Ed?
Thank you, Mary E. Yep, we're getting ready to switch over to our video, and you get to see Mary E. do some arranging and talk a little bit more about the materials that she had mentioned in her PowerPoint. So just hold on for just a second. And let me get this going and share screen and designer landscape. And it's buffering, and it's buffering. Of course, when you try things out earlier in the day, things work. And then when you go to do it live, they don't. So hold on just a second. Let me get this. Try to refresh this video.
Good morning. The first thing that I do is put my apron on when I'm getting ready to have a messy day of arranging flowers or working with plant material. And I'd like to say that it's so that I can have my clippers and all of the things that I need in this handy pocket. But truthfully, it's just to wipe my hands on, because arranging flowers is a play in dirt kind of fun. Today our demonstration is going to accompany a more formal PowerPoint presentation that gives you all of the formal ins and outs of arranging flowers, and we are going to point out some of the plant material that
I
you may have
can't,
in
so
your
I hit the
yard,
one that.
or using that happy bunch of flowers that you see and check out when it's a pretty day and you bring it home, and then you open it and find five stems and think, oh my goodness, what in the world am I going to do with this? So I have provided some readily available plant materials. And what do we mean by readily available? Well, to me, that's my yard, my neighbor's yard, beside the road. And I won't say that I've actually stolen it, but I may have slipped in and cut a few sprigs of something that I needed. I am going to show you some of the plant material that I have gotten and name it for you. That I have put the names on the buckets because these names often leave my brain. In almost every Richmond yard, we have this is gold dust cuba. It's green all year long. The yellow part of the leaf will brighten up almost any arrangement. In the back of my house, I have a big window box, and I put in some begonias that literally took over.
I understand we got some sound quality issues. I'm going to try to reshare it again.
Big as this table, and I haven't had much success with saving them and rooting them for the next year, so I'm cutting them as quick as I can. Also, another big Richmond flower is a Japanese boxwood. It's a pretty shiny leaf. It's a stiff, upright plant, and will make arrangements be greener. And the neighbor's yard, I would say that the to the plant and some extra color if you don't have a lot of blossoms. This, I'm going to have to see on the list, Cryptomeria. I especially like this because it drapes, and we're going to talk about the importance of having flowers or greenery that drapes. And this is just one type of Euonymus that grows in Britain. There are many, many types. I like this because of the shiny and leaf and the fact that it can be nice color just to brighten up some colors in the arrangements. I'm going to start with everyone's either bane or pleasure. That's ligustrum. Almost every yard uses that as a hedge. There's different sizes of it. This time of year, it has some nice green berries on it, and these berries will turn purple. That is a great addition to winter arrangements, bringing in a little bit of the outside. The leaves are not generally as attractive this time of year, so quite often I just strip those off and use just the is the tall that grows everywhere, plants itself everywhere, the berries.
Yeah.
For a minute, it improved.
Some honeysuckle that I quite often
Maybe that's it.
my arrangements. My son has a garden in Churchill and a community garden, and
All right, try that.
he's going to dig up his rosemary plant and his sage plant, and they are gigantic. And I said, please, please don't do it until after Christmas because I have a number of arrangements that I want to use it in. Rosemary, I know you can't smell this, but it has a lovely fragrance. And what I like about the sage leaves are they're dark color, almost bluish, their fuzzy appearance. It gives a different texture to any arrangement. And also, I had a neighbor who had a very large hydrangea. I'm not going to be able to come up with what this one is, but they can be 6 and 8 feet tall, and the hydrangeas have been really a gift this summer. They have liked whatever this Richmond weather is, or COVID times, or something. It's now the middle of November, but they are still blooming so that we could use them in an arrangement. And on this side, I have some of the berries from Nandina, which I'm sure you're familiar with. They're not totally hardy in arrangements, but you can put them in at the last minute and they'll last for a day or two. Sometimes you try a prep and it doesn't work. This was a variegated foliage off of a neighbor's shrub, and she said she liked to use it in the spring, but we can tell that it didn't hold up. So we always want to get more foliage than we think we're going to use. You cut a lot of it to get just the perfect pieces, and also sometimes it doesn't hold up. Now, whoops, Mr. Rogers' apron is coming undone. As far as containers are concerned, I think that if you can put oases in it or put water in it, it can be a container. Today, I've done a one ahead of time in my Halloween pumpkin. I've just scraped the seeds out, put some oases in there, and is it going to be messy as it starts to go bad? And that answer is yes, but right now it looks nice. I've got some macuba, some rosemary, and some hydrangea, and the very last slightly frostbitten zinnias out of my garden. And we'll talk about the other arrangement when we're talking about Christmas. I'm going to look at my notes just a little bit so that I don't miss anything. Today we are going to work with one of my favorite fall bowls. This is a glass pumpkin, and I guess you could put a candle in it or a container. I'm going to work with it just filled with water today because I want to demonstrate using both oases, which is a floral material that you can use, and I also want to arrange without oases. Your plants will most likely last longer if you arrange without oases, but your plants will stay where you put them if you arrange with oases. So this is going to be one that we work on, and I was envisioning this sprig of Nandina, the way that it grows. It's nice and has leaves all around, right down in this. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, so we're going to give it a try. I've selected greenery that has, by their leaf size, by the leaf color, some leaf textures. You'll note that a lot of the colors have some variation, and that gives interest to your flower arrangements. Some of it's floppy, some of it is stiff, some of it's tall, some of it is short. So let's work on starting this arrangement. I'm going to fill it with water. Actually, that's going to take a long time, so we'll fill it with water when we finish. I would like to say that I keep all of my equipment in this nice bag, but truthfully it's scattered all over the house, and I have to go here and there to gather it. So what I'm going to do is cut this. When you're cutting on all of your plant materials, you want to make a nice diagonal cut. Now we don't know if this is going to work, so it's a little bit tall. Cutting it diagonally gives a bigger surface to take up water. I don't think I'm going to be happy with this. We're not going to be able to move it, so I'm going to pull these off and cut it down. The nice thing about Nandina is that it holds up really well in water. This is just not going to work. Arranging flowers can definitely be an experiment. Sometimes you think things are going to work. This whole brack is just too much to rest in the water, so I'm going to break it apart, and then you get a lot of plant material. And to arrange, to decide how much to cut, I'm going to just hold this up and cut and put it in. We'll start out with the greenery, floral designers, which I am not. Call this greening it up. You put some greenery all around, add some more greenery, and then add blossoms. Let's see here. Now, that's a nice start. You can see how this fills in the space. We want to be sure that none of the greenery leaves is underwater. Now I have this great amount of material to shop from. I'm going to decide what I think would go well with this, and I've been wanting to use some of this sage because it has a nice smell, it has a nice fuzzy leaf, and it's definitely a different texture. You need to look at your plant material, pull off any parts that are not attractive, and just put a little bit of this in here. And we can always add more at the end. And then I'm going to go shopping for some plants to add to this, or some blossoms. I have prepped 4 containers of blossoms from the supermarket, and I brought one in to show you exactly what prepping does. I just take scissors and cut this off, and you can see that we've got some stems here. They usually give you some greenery, not nearly enough, but you can use that. I've got a purple chrysanthemum, and here I have some other purple chrysanthemums. I'm gonna just pull the leaves off of that, give it a fresh cut, put it in the bucket, and any of these, I'm gonna just put them behind me, but you would take off the leaves, the shipping leaves, and the reason we do that is the leaves never last as long as the blossom does. They begin to curl, get brown, be unattractive, and also if any leaves are underwater, you'll get that slimy water. It has a bad odor, and of course any flower arranger tells you to change your water every 2 or 3 days, but I try to be realistic. Who is really going to be changing their water every 2 or 3 days? Also, there's a little package of plant material or plant food. I'm just going to put a little bit of that in my watering can, and then when I water, some plant food will be in there. So now we have a Thanksgiving pumpkin. I want to be sure that this leaf is available, and I'm going to use this sort of as the front side. For Thanksgiving, let's see what we would like. The other arrangement is going to be Christmas, so I think that I'm going to use the purple. One of the reasons that you might want to buy extra material is sometimes you get your plant home and it's damaged. You can tell that this is shattered, so we won't be able to use that. Quite often they'll travel with these little pods on them, and that keeps them from breaking. Sometimes some of my blossoms are down in the bottom of the bag. They break very easily. So this gives us 4. This is just called arranging on the fly. I'll shake this. I hope that's not a bad one. But I'm going to hold these and cut try one and see. Just put those in. Now I will have to remember to put water in there. And purple and yellow. The one thing that you do not want to do is to bring the arrangement home from the supermarket and just pop it in water. I've seen people not even take the paper off, and at least take the paper off, recut the stems, take off the foliage, and work from there. Let's try some yellow with this. These are mostly chrysanthemums. They hold up very well. We might separate some of them. This makes an awkward arrangement because it grows so far down the stem. In this particular arrangement, there was I think this is an African flower called monkey paw. I'm not quite sure, but it's a little bit of an orange texture. So I'm gonna cut that and just put it in, out, and these I'm gonna pull off some of the extra ones. I got these flowers from Kroger because I wanted to remain true to what the theme of our arrangement was, and that is anyone can bring flowers home. This is going to be a table arrangement. I'm keeping it low. If you have a chance, I like to buy my flowers at Costco, and you can get a big bunch, and there's not quite so many varieties, but I was at Kroger's and I thought this is what someone just arranging would do. So we've got just mostly in the center. I'm going to come back and see if I can put some color a little more on the side, because you want a villa, a thriller, and a spilla. I would say this is maybe all thrillers. We have some astromeria here that I'm going to tuck into the side. These come in a lot of colors. They last forever. And be sure to pull the leaves off, because those leaves go brown pretty often. So I'm going to tuck that in. You can see how that brightens up the arrangement. And tuck it into the other side. And someone asked me, how do I know when I finished my arrangement? And my personal rule is, when I run out of flowers, I'm finished. So we have this one that probably won't be used anywhere else. So I'm going to tuck that right down between these purple flowers here. And this is one that could go on the table. One of the rules that I like to follow on the table is for you not to have to go like this to see the person in front of you. So if you're really having it on a table for a party, you might want to put it in center and look over it and see if it is at least out of the way of seeing the person across the room from you. We have plenty of spotlight flowers, and I would like just a little bit coming over the side, so I'm going to shop in my greenery right back here. And the cryptomeria, the nice thing about this is you can bend the stem a little bit and trim it down and put a little bit coming out of the sides to droop over. You want to hide the top of your vase, your mechanics, mechanics being any floral foam that you have used. And I like to work in groups of 3 or 5, but that's not a steadfast rule. Here it is on the other side. It looks like I need one more piece. So I will get that and put that in. And if I were at home and had access to all of my arranging secrets, I might put some thin sticks out. You could add a lot of different things to that. Some curly willow, a plant that many people have in their yard, hairy lauder walking stick, which gives you lots of interesting brown sticks. But for right now, I'm going to set this on the floor, and I'll bring it back at the end. So I'm going to, Ed said I could just put my plant material material on the floor, but I can't bring myself to do that. I have a trash can. And I would say that were I at home, I would rescue all these and turn them into a little windowsill bouquet or a little bathroom bouquet. We never want to let a blossom go to waste unless it's not a good blossom. So I'm going to smooth this off and check my notes. I said that my flowers for this arrangement came from Kroger. Also, I'm near the new TJ Maxx, and that has a lot of good arrangements. Costco carries flowers. I think they come in fresh on Thursday, which is always a good idea to know. The farmers market in the summer offers you a lot of local grown flowers, and I have a large, very unsuccessful vegetable garden, but I do grow 2 or 3 rows of cut flowers that I start from seed, and that gives me a lot of pleasure in the summertime, both the working on it and cutting the flowers. I want to say that in the video that you saw prior to the arranging, there were lots of rules about making flower arrangement, and I have basically 2 rules. I want it to make me happy. I usually want to work with, this is actually going to be 3 rules, work with flowers that I have, and then a rule that I like is the filler, spiller, and thriller. This is a Christmas arrangement. I've used a, I think this was a vase that was left over from giving my mother amaryllis long ago, and I can never let anything that looks like a vase go out of the house. Here I've gotten our spillers, some more cryptomeria. I've used Nandina in this. I've used some of the hydrangeas from the garden, and the roses out of 2 or 3 bags. They are close enough in color to use, and they also work with the hydrangeas. What makes this Christmas? Well, the pot, the gold sticks, this is curly willow that I sprayed, and some ornaments that I sat down in it. It doesn't have to be flowers to be used. Christmas balls bring out color and make it a little more festive, but it doesn't necessarily have to be red carnations and green carnations. There are other ways that you can make it appropriate for Christmas. There are many legends on using evergreens for Christmas. Some of them go back 1,000 years. The bouquets or boughs of evergreens put over the door or window are said to keep evil spirits away. Christians like to use it as a promise of spring after the winter is over. Of course, many of our evergreen traditions came from the Germans and came over with the colonists, originally from England, but then Germans brought their Christmas trees, their use of greenery. I'm going to demonstrate a little bit more. This is a little mercury glass bowl, and I want to show you how to use Oasis. This is a floral foam that you soak in water and use a knife to cut it and fit it into the bowl. So I like to just place it on top of the bowl, get a little shape of the bowl, and just slice down it. You can see that it's wet all the way through. And then put it in. If you have a little bit above, probably thrown many of them away. Then you can put flowers in at an angle. I brought some florist tape to tape this in because I'm thinking of using this arrangement on a entry table, and I didn't want to take a chance of it knocking over, but it seems pretty firm, so I'm not going to tape it in with this floral tape. That's also something you can have in your bag of tricks. Once again, let's look at our flowers. Now this is for Christmas, so we have some red roses and one lonely carnation. There were two, but the other one, his little head snapped off, so now he's on my kitchen sink. We have some astromeria, which is in a, I didn't prep very well, in a red color. You can see that I'm pulling these leaves off. These are the leaves that will turn brown quickly. The astromeria stays beautiful for a long time. This is a great addition to any bouquet. Sometimes you can buy it, there weren't any at Kroger, but just bouquets of this, and it lasts for a long time. You can change out other flowers and the astromeria will still be going. So we've got some reds here, and then once again more astromeria, some greens. So let's see what I think that I would use some akuba in this. This lasts long, and sometimes when you use it in arrangements, it will root itself and you can give someone a little akuba plant. I'm going to clip this short and put it around the sides. The easiest arrangement to make is just a little dome or rounded, and that is very easy to make if you have the floral foam. So I'm going to clip this. Remember, we're clipping at an angle. That gives more exposure to the surface for taking up water. And let's just see, start just putting it in. This doesn't have to be very long, and you want it to go all the way in because we definitely want to hide this floral foam called the mechanics of the, and you see why we need to get extra. This does not go very far. I hope I brought enough. Here we go. I have a giant head of this in my backyard, and people come and cut it, and that makes me happy. Plus pruning, plus I really enjoy sharing any kind of plant material. Maybe I won't use this on a hall table. It's getting quite large here. So we've got some that go around here, and now I'm going to look for texture. Let's use some of this berry from the hedges. I'm going to pull off the leaves, not that they are bad, but just that I want this to be about the berries and not about the leaves. I'm just going to stick some in here and then work around it. This really doesn't take as long as it seems like we're going to, but talking for a camera is a little bit awkward. Let's see what else. Let's use some of this Euonymus, nice shiny leaves. If you note, it has a nice curve. That's one thing that you want to look at the shape of your plant. And I'll put that around the top. You just have to remember that decorating is definitely not rocket science. You can bring it home, just experiment. They suggest that you don't insert and remove plant material from this oasis, but I don't think that there is anyone who's ever worked with oasis that hasn't pulled out something they didn't like and put it in differently. I'm clipping, I can use stem pieces. You note that I am facing that up so that it will show off the material, the plant material. So we'll finish greening this up. We can always come back and add, but this gives you sort of a base to start putting flowers in. The roses will come quite often with shipping petals or outside petals. You can just pull those off. Sometimes they're damaged. I'm going to take about 4 of these, and that one looks like it's not quite the right color as the others. Pull this and see where to cut. Oh, this has a nice piece of honeysuckle attached to it. You can see that that would be a nice spiller out of the roses. You want to tuck down into the material. There we go. I'm going to take this one and put it in the top. Now, this astramaria, we just have 2 of those, so I'm going to cut that short and put it down in the plant on either side, just for a little bit of color. Now with this, oops, this is why you need extra. I have broken this, so I'm just gonna stick it in there and know that it won't last. Also, I'm gonna add a little bit of light color. We could also add some of this begonia. Maybe I'll use a little bit of that. When the first frost comes, this is gonna be gone. So I get attached to my plants and like to use them while they're still living with me. Oh, I think that's going to be nice. I'll put some of that in there. Begonia makes a very good potted plant or landscape plant for the summer. It's hardy. It seems to grow whether there's shade or sun. And it has nice coloration underneath the leaf and lots of different choices of leaf colors. I'm just tucking this in where it needs a little bit of color. Let's see. Here is one more. And yes, I am not a neat arranger. I always end up with a big messy spot. Here's one that doesn't have a blossom on it. I'm going to tuck that right. Need to cut that a little bit more at an angle. It's a nice, so we've got this. I'm going to sweep away. Oh, now my knife keeps wanting to go away. I found one more rose, so not one to waste flowers. You can open the rose just a little bit if it doesn't have enough color. sometimes roses will open, sometimes not. Let's look and see where a nice space for that would be. Maybe right up here in the top. And I'm going to tilt this so you can see what it's like. I thought I would use some of these, but I think that I won't. I think I'll just go with what I have right there. I'm going to duck off the camera just a minute and get some sticks that I brought.
You're fine, I'll edit this part out.
Pardon?
You're fine, I'll edit this part out. Did edit it out. When I come, you're unmuted.
In the fall, I love to take just sticks that I find in the yard and spray them gold or white or silver. This is some curly willow that I rescued from some big arrangements I had done for a charity function back in the days when we used to have charity functions. I never let it sticks go to waste, but this will give just a little bit of height to your plant without interfering with vision if you wanted to use this on the table. This was just gold paint that I had. I'm not even quite sure what I had used it for. I like curly willow brown in the fall. Let's put some right in here and right in here. And once you've made the arrangement, you want to step away from it. I don't really have anywhere to go here, so, but at home I would step away from it and just see where holes were and come back with more plant material. And here we go. So I'm going to bring this up close to the camera, tilt it over so you can see it. Now, I also need to get down and look at it. Remember, we have these. We could put a few more in if we needed to cover some mechanics and have it fall over the sides. And we have our one sad little plant here, but I'm going to save any materials that I can. Now, how much further do you want to go with, because I brought just some vases. I can make more, but I don't know how long you want it.
I think that's probably about good.
That's good?
Yep.
Stop. I'll just show a couple more vases. And so you can tell that we still have more flowers, and remember my rule is I stop arranging when I've run out of flowers. I have also run out of time as to the amount of time that citizens of Henrico are willing to sit and watch volunteer arrange flowers, but I wanted to show you the easiest things to arrange in are something that is actually vase shaped. If you have an opening that is smaller than the body of the container, things will fall and you can just stick things in at an angle, and almost anyone can arrange flowers. Just to wrap up, I wanted to remind you of just an assortment of greens. Of course, don't damage anyone's plants or your own plants, but you can usually trim off the new growth or go from behind and get some pieces of greenery. Buy the freshest flowers you can, and remember you might lose one or two when you are arranging. Assemble all the supplies that you need at one time, and I like to keep some things that you can add in, some sticks, some Christmas balls. This would be very appropriate at Christmas because of its vase, and but it is not particularly red and green like we think of the Christmas bright green and bright red. Um, and just have fun with it. Once again, if it makes you happy, remember it's not rocket science. So happy decorating.
Testing 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you. Sorry, my microphone said I wasn't working. We appreciate your patience as I got through some um, technical difficulties there. And so, Mary Eve, go ahead and open up your unmute yourself, and I'll go ahead and read some questions that we've gotten in chat.
All right, I'm here.
All right. So, someone asked a question, said, what about local florists? Do you know if they give discounts on older flowers?
I do not know that, but I have a friend who gets a Forest Hill area florist where I live to just give her the older flowers, and she rearranges them and takes them to nursing homes. So they're just going to go to waste. So I think you can always ask.
Another question was talking about the akuba in that arrangement. And she wants to know if the akuba was placed in the side of the oasis.
In the side of the oasis? Well, I can't remember which. You can place it in the side of the oasis if it extends up above the rim of your container. Cuba will live if you leave it on the backyard doorstep for 6 months, and you can go out and pick it up and use it. So it's pretty hardy. It's hard to put it in a place where it won't live, but it's perfectly okay to have a higher piece of oasis and stick it into the side. Yes. And that one, I did put that in the side, correct. I see which one you're talking about now. So
yep, those were in the side. That arrangement went home with me. And so thank you, Mary E, for helping me celebrate my wife's new job by bringing home some flowers. And those have been
always
held
a good
up.
choice, Ed.
Those have held up very well on our kitchen island. So we've really appreciated those, and the roses were pretty. Even though it was done as a Christmas theme arrangement, it worked well for us in November. Somebody wants to know when you cut your flowers or greenery from the garden, how should we handle bugs?
Well, I just be sure that if it's a stink bug that comes into your house, kill him with a paper towel in your hand, because they are pretty nasty. Bugs don't bother me. It's just part of gardening. When I get up every day that I work in my garden, I put on sunscreen and bug spray. And I do sometimes find little spiders in the house, and if they're very small, then I can rescue them and put them outside. If they're bigger, then I get my husband to rescue them. But most of the bugs that come in are not the good bugs, so they just get deep sixed in the trash being smashed. You can put them underwater, and that will help some of the bugs. I am fortunate enough that the place where I garden has a big peony border, so I admit to snipping a few each spring without asking, and They are loved by ants. And if you just put the peonies upside down in some warm water, that will make the ants go away.
I didn't notice it when we shot the video last week, but towards the end of that video, there was a spider that was crawling across the table. It came through with one of the some of the arrangements. So
Yeah, yes, there's one that has been living in my car ever since I brought those flowers over, and he did spring down. He's very small, but it still startles me when he pops out of the ceiling while I'm driving. I hope I've gotten rid of him now.
So again, if you have any other questions, please put them in the chat box and we'll get to them with Mary E. Mary E, you did have some great kudos and thank yous and comments about what a great job you did and with the arrangement that you did. There was a question about if we are going to make the PowerPoint slides available for later viewing. We will not be making the actual slides available, but we have recorded the presentation, and everybody that were registered for the program will be getting a link to the presentation so they can watch it again at their leisure. It'll probably be the beginning of next week or the middle of next week before Thanksgiving that I send that link out to everyone.
And I would be happy to do something similar for as a Master Gardener presenter, especially since we concentrate so heavily on landscape materials. I think it's a very, very appropriate to be on the Master Gardener education list. And I'd be happy to do that in the future.
Yes, folks, if you're interested in a speaker, a Master Gardener speaker for your garden club or homeowners association, please reach out to our office and we'd be glad to coordinate that for you. Well, seeing no other questions in the chat box, I will go ahead and say again, thank you for participating in today's program by the Henrico Master Gardeners, the Henrico Extension Office, in cooperation with Henrico County Public Libraries. Our next program that is scheduled is on Tuesday, December 8th at 3 p.m. Our Master Gardeners are going to talk about how to take care of the holiday flowering plants that you get at that time of the year. You can register for that program at the same webpage that you did for this program, which was henrico.us/extension/ANR/programs. And you can find out about any other virtual gardening programs at that link also. Thank you for your attendance today and have a nice rest of the day.